Hello, White Sox fans. Welcome to a special edition of actually not ladies' night. It's family night. Woo! And
Woo!
I have my family on to talk about some Cubs and Sox stuff. We have a split household in the Bollenbach household, with myself being the White Sox fan, my husband being a Cubs fan, and Sage being well, I guess we'll learn more about what Sage thinks about these things as we move along. So, you see my husband Shaun there in the Cubs gear, and Sage in the Barons repping Michael Jordan there. So, all right, without further ado, we're gonna get rolling into this. This is gonna be a fun 30 minutes. So, all right, so boys, coming into the Crosstown series, how are you feeling about your team?
Dad, you can go first.
All right, I'll start out first. I'd be feeling a lot better if we had some more pitching. We need some more starting pitching, so I'm very curious about what we're going to be doing here at the trade deadline. Maybe we'll find that out during the series if we might do something, but we just need more pitching. We only have about two solid guys, and then and maybe some of our rookies are doing good, but we need more.
So, in terms of pitching, when you say pitching, because I don't follow much of the Cubs, is it bullpen and starting pitching, or one or the other?
I would say starting pitching first, but you always need bullpen help, so it'd be good to have some bullpen help. Um, we just have Shota and Boyd, and the other three spots are kind of up to grab. We have Horton at the other one, and Ray's doing okay, but I don't know how long he'll last. Horton seems to be doing okay, but we just have a wide open spot on that fifth spot. And in case one of the other ones do bad, that's Ray or Horton. We need somebody to fill in there.
Well, could I interest you in an Adrian Hauser or a Dan Altavilla? I
I feel
believe
better
they're
if Hauser would have had a better outing his last time. I'd feel better about Hauser, but
just one bad outing. Come on, you gotta give them
yeah,
a little more
it
rope.
all depends on what they're willing to
That
take for him.
that's because he didn't throw out in the dugout the last time. That's why he didn't do as good.
Oh, he didn't throw up.
I don't think so. I think that's like the one time he didn't is when he had a bad start. So you got to
Oh,
go in expecting that.
That's right.
so how are you feeling, Sage?
Um, well, I don't know if you could tell, but the White Sox are not having the best of a season so far, and the Cubs, well, they're pretty darn good. Tied with the Central there with the Brewers. So, yeah, not feeling the best about the Sox chances, but for the Cubs chances, yeah, it's pretty good. Might be good to get a couple wins against, a team there for the Cubs to get ahead of the Brewers. So, for both sides, it's rough, but right now.
Well, it sounds like you could. I guess you'll probably share a little bit more with us later, but it's kind of a win-win for you, I think. It sounds like, no matter what happens.
I guess it's for me. It's more I enjoy watching both the games, so it's just I'm along for the ride. But I guess yeah, we'll find out a little bit later.
Okay. So, are there any specific matchups that you're looking forward to, or I mean, I know the Cubs absolutely crushed the White Sox at Wrigley, but is there anybody that you guys are looking forward to seeing this weekend?
I guess for me,
You
it's just kind of the younger guys to see what they can do against this Cubs pitching staff because they have the pitchers that they have healthy are really good. Like Matthew Boyd, Shodi, Managa are like the top one of the like some of the top pitchers in the league right now. So just seeing how those young guys and for the White Sox kind of go after that, I'm very interested in what they can do there. See if they can get some nice hitting done against some of these elite Cubs pitchers. And for the Cubs, I guess Pete Crow Armstrong just he hasn't played much against the Sox, so I think this might be his first like real game at the rate, so just to see what he can do at Rate Field.
Yeah, because there is a different vibe there, Wrigley,
Hmm.
of course, you're the home
At
team.
home.
Yeah. How about you, Sean?
Well, Horton, the Cubs starting pitcher, I think he's scheduled to pitch against the Sox. I'm curious to see how he's going to do in that type of atmosphere, if he's
Hmm.
able to perform well in that type of atmosphere. And then the second thing I'm looking forward to is watching, see if Luis Robert for the White Sox, if he keeps on his torrid pace, to see if people will pick him up or not. He
Yeah.
seems to be doing well after the All Star break, and I'm curious if he's going to keep that going and then all of a sudden be this ascending player.
Well, and the atmosphere, I think there are a lot of young guys on both the White Sox and the Cubs, and so in this
Hmm.
type of playoff atmosphere that you get, I feel like you get it's like a different as opposed to Wrigley. The atmosphere at the rate seems a little more, I don't know, a little more playoffy, a little more um, intense when it comes to these two teams playing each other.
I
Um,
think if I could just add something real
yeah,
quick about the atmosphere, I feel like for the rate, there's definitely more diverse for like Sox and Cubs fans there, and I feel like at Wrigley it's mostly just like Cub fans there. I feel like Sox fans don't travel to Wrigley just because either we don't go to that side of town or whatnot. But I feel like that could be it too. Why the rate, is a little bit more of that atmosphere because there's a lot more mixture of fans there.
yeah.
Are you saying the atmosphere, Melissa, because the Cubs usually have a full house and the White Sox don't? But then when the Cubs play the White Sox, then the White Sox do have a full house. Is that what you mean by a different atmosphere for the White
Don't be
Sox?
a don't be a typical Cubs fan and go to the whole attendance thing. That is such a weak argument.
Well, no, I thought you were just explaining that. I don't know.
No, I'm just like I don't know the vibe when you go to Wrigley for these games. I always felt like usually it was in the day and it was I don't know. To me, it just seemed more contentious when it's at the rate. Maybe it's just me,
Yeah,
but
I don't think they played any night games when they were at Wrigley this year. I remember them all being during the day.
yeah, no, I think you're right.
Yeah, I feel like night games too just have that different feel to them where it's
Yeah.
like, oh, this, not
Mm-hmm.
saying it means more, but it's like more people can show up during the
Well,
night than during
maybe
the
part
day.
of it too is how the stadiums are built and like just how they're set
Right.
up. Like it feels anyway, like when you're at the rate and the rate is full, it's just like more like on top of and into the action. Where Wrigley being in like an older stadium, that's the upper levels and stuff seem like much more set back. Um, which I mean, it's obviously part of the charm, but I think it just has a
Mm.
different overall vibe from the setup standpoint. So. Okay, how about I know you've both been to crosstown stuff in the past. Do you have like a favorite memory or yeah, something that sticks out to you about one of the games?
Did you want me to
No.
go, Sage, first?
Yeah, you can go.
Well, one game, I don't know if you remember, Melissa, you're talking about whether it's contentious or not when we went to Wrigley Field. But I believe it was in 1999, we went to a game on a Sunday, and it was like the fifth or sixth inning, and they had a 3.5 hour rain delay.
Oh,
And we were
yeah.
in the upper deck, caught under the awning, and we could see our car in the old McDonald's parking lot before the remount. We knew we couldn't get out, so we were waiting and decided not to leave. And then once we could get out, it was like 2.5 hours later, and after it had stormed and poured rain, we knew they weren't going to call it because they called the game the day before, and it turned out sunny, and everybody was ripping on them for calling it. So after 3.5 hours, it took them like 45 minutes to get the field ready, and they ended up playing. And the only people there were Melissa and I, and a couple drunk people that had been drinking for 3 hours. And it was just enough people to fill just 2 rows right behind the dugout, and that's about it, 2 or 3 rows. And when you say contentious, I just remember it was very odd because here we're on the Cubs dugout side, and the Cubs are warming up, and the drunk fans are screaming at the players. Or the White Sox fans are screaming at Gary Gaetti, who played for the Cubs, like, you're a loser, you're effing this, and da. And Gary Gaetti, I'll never forget, just turns to those people and takes his hat and has a certain finger on top of his cap. Back to him, and then you have the Cub fans screaming at, go get him, Mark Grace, and Mark Grace is like, go get him, and I'm like, this is just warm-ups, and everybody's getting into, they're just warming up to get ready to start the game again. Then I remember the White Sox ended up taking the lead and won the game on our reliever. I think it was Aguilera, who had been having a bad season, and the poor guy Aguilera was taken out of the game by the manager, and he had to walk back to the dugout with the even though it was 3 or 4 rows of Cub fans, I don't think he's ever been yelled at that bad by fans behind the dugout, just screaming at him because he'd had a rough year. But that was my memory.
Yeah, that was back in the day when neither team had won a World Series, and I feel like it was so much more about bragging rights. Who was the better team in Chicago? Yeah, the Cubs had more people in attendance, but Sox fans knew more baseball IQ people, and it was just this whole thing, which I feel has kind of lost its luster a little bit.
And there was more fights, I would say.
Yes, there were definitely more fights, which is kind of one of the reasons we stopped going, actually, if I recall correctly. We kind of had it with the fights and the people throwing up and it rolling down the aisles and all that kind of stuff. So, Sage, I know you've only been to one. It's probably because of what I just mentioned. Your dad and I are like, yeah, we are kind of over that. But how about you? Anything stand out?
Yes, like I only been to one game, but that game was pretty special. Just not necessarily what happened during the game, but kind of like off the field beforehand. We ended up going and meeting up with the CHGO crew. They were part of CHGO. They were just all super friendly and we all had a great time talking and communicating with them. So that was just kind of a highlight, and we were all just like during the game kind of teasing each other because there was Sox and the Cubs people there as well, so we were kind of just like teasing each other a little bit. I think the only thing I remember from that game was Joe Kelly blowing the lead, and I remember getting a little upset about that. Classic Joe Kelly for White Sox, but 2023.
I think, didn't the Cubs score a bunch of runs to take the lead? And I don't know if they hit the ball out of the infield, I think.
Yeah, I mean, the White Sox were winning, and the Sox just did their we're going to White Sox thing and just...
Yeah, the bullpen didn't have it, which was pretty much the sum up of that 2023 season was errors and the bullpen blowing games, pretty much, is what ended up happening there.
So this one's for Sage. So how do you handle your mixed commitments to your teams? So, I mean, at the end of the day, do you really care or?
So I do watch both teams, but if I'm watching the game and like picking a side, I would root for the White Sox, but I've recently just started getting into baseball after the 2021 season. I really started getting interested into it, and I only grew up going to White Sox games, and the White Sox have been a part of my life pretty much since I was born, pretty much before I was born too. That's a different story, but I mean, yeah, my allegiance to the south side of town, I don't think I can, undo that by any means, but it's not that, now I need to hate every other team in the league because I only have allegiance to one team. That's just not my way of being a fan. I really like, because Dad's a Cub fan, so when the Sox aren't playing and they are, I still like to watch games with him and create those memories with him going to Wrigley too. So that's just a special thing for me as well.
Well, you're a special breed because there's all kinds of fights on social media about how can you actually like both teams, and I do think it helped that you grew up in central Illinois too. I think if
Hmm.
you grew up north, it probably would be a little bit of a different experience for you. So,
That's
um,
why that's why Mom has us in separate rooms, Sage, so that we can't be
Right.
together when we talk about it.
yeah, I needed to separate everybody to make sure things stayed under control for this. Okay, we're about halfway through, so we're gonna take a quick break, and we will be back to talk more Cubs and Sox before you know it. All right, we're back. Told you it'd be quick. Okay, so Shaun, do you think that I mentioned it a little bit before, but do you feel like that rivalry has changed with this Crosstown series from when we started going way back when I think we probably went even the very first year. You have a better memory than me, but when it started being official, do you feel like it's changed?
Yeah, I'd agree with you. I think after both teams have won the World Series, I think it's kind of maybe toned down a little bit. It's don't get me wrong, it's still intense. I think at the stadium, and it's still a lot of emotions during those games in a playoff atmosphere, whether they're playing at Wrigley or the right field. But um, I would say it's just a little bit less on the tone down because when we would go to the games before, I mean, it was amazing just sitting there. I remember watching at Great Field. They would have security would always be in packs of four, and you just see them move to different parts of the stadium and pulling people out of the crowd that had been getting in fights and different things. And even when we're at the Cubs game, when nobody was there was fights going on. You'd see the three Cubs security people going and dragging people out of there, even though we had very few people. So but you do see the security there now, maybe pulling some people, but I don't see the big, fights or people really get nasty with each other that they did before. Maybe it's just because we were sitting in a different part, but I just don't think it's there. It's more, uh, hopefully, in a joking way and teasing way more than it is mean and hopeful.
Yeah, I don't feel like either fan base really gets as hung up on it anymore in terms of like, before it was like, oh my gosh, we lost to the Cubs, we got swept to the Cubs, like so embarrassing, like you wanted to like hide in a shell and just not come out for like a week and let the time pass. But now it's just like, oh yeah, we lost to the Cubs. We're terrible. We'll probably lose three more to the Cubs too and continue to be terrible. And it's okay. But
Oh,
anyway.
okay. Well, I'll take that then. I'll take that.
Okay, so what is one thing that you guys are hoping to see from the young players this week, or your best prospect? Is there anything specific you're looking to see from them?
Besides Horton pitching well, I'd like to see Shaw keep hitting. He's been hitting lately, doing pretty good, and I want to see him hitting big moments in the White Sox game.
Yeah,
Sage,
I
is there
kind of
any
have.
particular young guy that you're looking to get some big hits?
I don't think a particular young guy. I think I'm looking at all of them just to make sure they at least get good at bats. That's what I'm hoping because these Cubs pitchers are, like I said before, are really good. So I'm hoping for the young White Sox guys just to get some productive at bats against them. Is what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, because quite a few of them weren't even up yet when the Sox played the
Right,
Cubs. Yeah, you didn't have
like
Montgomery up,
Montgomery.
Steele wasn't up. So yeah, it'll be good to see how those guys do in that playoff
Mm,
type of atmosphere and how they handle that
yeah,
kind of different pressure that they really haven't
and
had yet. I mean, there's been, World Series weekend celebration is more like not like tense, it's more celebratory. So I think this will have a different kind of tone to it.
and
Okay.
and you also have some of those young bullpen arms, and the Cubs have one of the best, if not the best, offense in the league. So how do they, attack those type of hitters too? I'm very interested in seeing that as well.
Yeah. Well, and Cannon pitched well. I mean, he didn't pitch
Mm-hmm.
terrible at Wrigley, so can he kind of go out and do that again? And I don't know if Smith will get. He's still out, so I'm assuming
Yeah, I
he
don't
will
think
be
he'll be back then, but
back for the weekend. So yeah, we'll see if Cannon can kind of reproduce. what he did and see what the other guys can
Grant
do. So,
Taylor and
yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna like a what if, like a big what if. What if there was a Cubs Sox World Series? First of all, will there ever be such a thing? And if there is, like, how do you imagine that shaping up?
I think it would be really exciting for Chicago if that were to happen. Do I think it will happen? No.
Yeah.
Only because both teams are one of those that try and get a solid team but don't want to spend too much money. And if you're doing that, you're not going to consistently go to the playoffs, which means you consistently don't go to the World Series. So when you just go to the playoffs once in a blue moon, maybe a World Series once in a blue moon, what are the odds both teams are going to go to the playoffs in the World Series once in a blue moon? You know what I'm saying?
So Sage, I'm going to let you answer that in a minute, but I want to kind of
Mm.
go a little bit more on what you just said, Shaun. So, what do you think that is? You've got two teams in the third biggest market in the country in terms of baseball. What is it about that the Cubs and the White Sox cannot spend and do not spend to put a consistent team on the field every single year? And especially the Cubs. I mean, the Cubs bring in gobs and gobs of money. So, what's your kind of perspective or take on that?
I don't know that everybody says they bring in gobs of money, but I know they've made a lot of improvements in the stadium and different things. So the question is, I know they've done a lot of that stuff. Maybe they have a lot of stuff past them now. I think the true test will be Tucker. Will they offer Tucker a good deal or not? And if they do, then maybe this will be the start of the Cubs spending in continuing on. So really, it's going to be, I think, a test this year. And then for the White Sox, it's going to be a test whenever Jerry moves on and that new owner comes in. Then it'll be a test. So if those two things happen, then maybe I think the odds get a lot better, and
Okay,
that could happen. So that's
so it
my
could.
wish: is
So
both that happens for both teams and they both start spending. But that the Cubs might be sooner, but the White Sox won't be for another what 7, 8 years. But
oh gosh, I hope
Right.
it's not that long. It must be
well,
so
that's
old.
I'm predicting, yeah. Well, somebody said, I thought I heard on the radio, somebody said something like, well, maybe that was the latest, or was
Yeah,
2032 or
that's
something.
like the latest. The earliest is 2029 was when the
Yeah,
new guy
so
can take
Yeah,
over. Yeah.
but I think kind of based on some of the things they've been doing, I think they could start to at least be fielding a
they have
500
some
team.
pieces in place by then, I think,
Yeah,
is what.
Yeah.
yeah.
And so that means
So
they would be right there.
yeah. Well, what do you think, Sage? Do you think there's ever a chance for a Cubs and White Sox World Series?
Like Dad said, looking back at the team's history, you would think there's no shot. There's no way that would ever happen. It happened in what, 19,
1906.
oh 06?
1906.
Yeah, that you would think that's it. Like, but going kind of off what you guys said, if when Justin Ishbia comes in and starts, if he starts spending money, I believe that the Ricketts then, if they haven't already started spending after they, maybe offer Tucker a big contract, that would kind of be like, oh, our crosstown rival is spending more than us. We need to
Step it
kick
up.
it in the high, step it up because that's a bad look at on our part if our, you know, crosstown counterpart is putting in more cash than we are, and we're the Cubs, and we have, they have like a bigger fan base, and so I feel like if they start spending more money, and then both teams, I think that if the both teams are competitive at the same time, maybe
The,
potentially,
I
but
think that's
that's a lot of asking.
well, I think that's a really good point, though, is that, um, you know, that the Cubs wouldn't want egg on their face, being the more popular team. I mean, I'm not going
Mm-hmm.
to them that they're not. And, the team that does have more revenue, and they might start hearing it from their fans too.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a lot of ifs there. Maybe it's not so much ifs, but when that will happen. Because I
Right.
do believe that, the reason why Ishbia wants the team is because he wants to help them win and he wants to be, in charge and ownership of a team that actually um, can get into the postseason and beyond. So we'll see. I would love to see that in my lifetime. I feel like one World Series wasn't enough. I need to experience that one more, especially being able to experience it with you. What would you do in that situation? Cubs and Sox in the World Series?
I don't even know because that idea is just so far out there.
So far out.
It's so far out there that it's like I don't even know what I'm gonna do because there's like a white less than 1% chance that could probably happen.
Well, so you'll just kind of wait and see on that one.
Yeah, I'll wait and see. And if that ends up happening, I'll be
Then I'm going
really
to come back and
surprised.
yeah, I'm going to come back and interview you. We're going to have to figure that
Right.
out. What are you going to do? Okay, so we're almost wrapping up here at the end. So I want to hear your predictions. What are your predictions for this weekend? Not just like, oh, how many games are going to win, but is it going to be close and be a blowout? Is it going to be? I want to hear kind of what you're thinking. Go ahead, Shaun.
Oh yeah.
Sage,
You can
Oh,
go.
whoever, somebody.
I'll go first. I think with Shota pitching, the Cubs should win that game, and then the other two games are kind of up for grabs, just because the White Sox are hitting the ball really well here lately. Unfortunately, I say unfortunately because they're coming to play with the Cubs, and that makes me a little nervous. So I think the games are going to be a little bit closer than they were at Wrigley, because I think that White Sox are going to hit a little bit better than.
So you're predicting what they're going to take all three? They're going to win two or three?
I'll say 2 out of the 3, but the the second one's kind of up for grabs. I'd say.
Okay. Okay.
I'll say 2 out of 3.
Sage.
Um, yeah, like Dad said, I think yeah, that first game with Imanaga pitching, like that's probably a lock for the Cubs because again, you have that really good starting pitcher, like their ace, pretty much. What I do like from the Sox is they don't have to face Matthew Boyd, which that's a break for them because he's like one of the best starters out there right now. But yeah, I'd say yeah, the Cubs will probably win 2, the Sox will win 1. But I'm thinking that they're actually going to be like really close games. I don't think it's going to be like Wrigley where every game was a blowout and it was oh my gosh, well, here's a complete like sweep blowout. I feel like these games coming up will be a little bit more competitive just because yeah, the Sox are hitting well. I don't know what Will Venable did on the All-Star break where he's like, "All right, let's start hitting." Like so I think definitely it'll be a little bit close.
So overall vibe from you two is that it'll be more competitive. There won't be such big blowouts. Shota is kind of the shoe in there, and then just because they're the better team, they probably take
Yeah.
two, if not three. I'm going to be the opposite. I'm going to be the optimist here, and I'm going to say that they will lose the Shota game, but they're going to win the other two. They're going to be really tight, really fun, and the young guys are going to get super energized by the environment, and going to have somewhat of a Mike Talkman revenge game. Might see some big things from Mike, and yeah, if Luis stays hot, it could be really fun. There might be some balls flying out of the park, so we'll see. All right. Thanks, family, for joining me on my special edition of Family Night. We will be back to our regularly scheduled programming next week on Ladies Night. We'll have a guest from our White Sox Twitter family that I'll be excited to share with you all. And so, yeah, so be back with us next week, and we will talk to you soon.